This one?
Yeah, yeah. Well, you guys will be there. Okay. Hey, we are back in studio. I am so happy to have my neighbors, the Amens, Dr. Daniel Amen and Tana Amen. You guys are at it again.
We are at it again.
Oh my
yes.
goodness, you write more books than anyone I know. We are local. We live, I don't know, maybe 15 miles apart, not even 10, 15 miles apart. And
here in Orange County.
Yeah, I've been in your studio once for, I think it was Origins we filmed right there. Your interview was in your studio, and now you're in my studio, so welcome.
Yes,
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Yeah,
yes, it's great.
So I love this title. We were just talking offline before we got going, The Brain Warrior's Way. And you know, and so there's a book and a cookbook. And this is like, I'm actually lifting weights right now. Yeah, this is serious. And so what is a brain warrior? I love the stance that you're taking because it's not a weak one at all.
Definitely not. This is not for everybody. I mean, we'll come right out and tell you, you know, this isn't for everybody. It's not a 2-week plan. It's not a 4-hour plan. It's not to lose 10 pounds. It's literally to change your life. And if you have ever been sick or you have taken care of someone sick, you know it's a war. So everywhere you go, I mean, someone's trying to shove bad food down your throat that'll kill you early. You know, and tell them the stats on Alzheimer's disease.
Well, I mean, the more we do this, the more we work on trying to get people healthy, and I've been at it for decades. It's a war. As you said, everywhere you go, someone's trying to shove bad food down your throat. That will kill you early. The real weapons of mass destruction are highly processed, pesticide sprayed, high glycemic, low fiber food-like substances that are literally destroying the health of America. I was at the Pentagon yesterday, and
yesterday. That's far.
And it's the health of our society is a national security crisis.
It's crazy.
70% of the people who try to sign up for the armed forces are rejected because of their health. Diabetes, obesity, hypertension, ADHD, depression. Wow. And these things are skyrocketing in our society. And I published 2 studies. At Amen Clinics, we do brain imaging work. And I published 2 studies that show as your weight goes up, the actual physical size and function of your brain goes down, which should just scare the fat off anyone. But if you think about it, 2/3 of us are overweight. Brand new study. 40% of women are obese. It's the biggest brain drain in the history of the United States. So if you're not armed and prepared, so that's what a brain warrior is. Someone who loves their brain, understand how important it is, and they know how to take care of it.
Right.
And this is a program around a word called mastery. We teach people how to develop mastery over their brain and body. So it starts with mindset. Are you sheep or are you sheepdog? And we go deep into that concept. Assessment, can't change what you don't measure. Sustenance, which is food and supplements, and Tana wrote this gorgeous cookbook. Training, well, what are the things you do every day? Essence, turning pain into purpose. I mean, this is really a purposeful program.
Why is the world a better place because you breathe?
Ours responsibility, because once you know this information, you have to share it. You have to create your own tribe. And why? This is years long. We're so done with the 10-week program to get well forever. It's,
oh, come on, give me 6 hacks to fix everything, Doc.
Right.
and it's like,
right?
it's like, no, the
exhausting.
The truth is, let's develop habits that you can live in an abundant way for the rest of your life.
Right, it doesn't have to be miserable. And you and I share a love of martial arts. We've talked a little bit about that. So I'm a martial artist and I love that. And one of, you know, the first thing people say is, but this sounds really hard. I don't want to think about fighting and war. And well, I don't want to either. But if you've ever been sick, that's the way it is. I was really sick for a long time. And it's a war. You have to fight it. So I practice martial arts in part because it's symbolic. It's symbolic of overcoming. It's symbolic of never giving up. You know, that's the warrior message. And we were talking before we went on, my favorite quote in martial arts is, you know, Master, why do you teach me to fight, but you speak of peace? And the master replies, because it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. So you can be peaceful if you're prepared. You can, you know, we want you to have the information and know what to do because you're less likely to get yourself in trouble. One of the first things that I learned in martial arts was don't fight with people bigger than you, right? So don't fight with cancer and diabetes and all these things. Run really fast if you can. Stay away from it. So it's preparation, awareness, avoidance, deflection, right? You fight only when you have to.
Well, sure, but the fight has almost come to our shores in
you don't have a
so many places.
It's being
now.
pushed on you.
Yeah.
So you have to be aware, and you've got to know what to do.
And it's not just food.
Sure, it's the cologne the guy in the elevator was wearing. It's all of it,
it's
right?
the news channels that know that you pay attention to negative things before you pay attention to
Because it's
positive
survival.
things. So they pour that down our throat, and it's literally pollution to our mind. It's the gadgets that steal our attention span. According to a new study from Microsoft, the human attention span is now 8 seconds. A goldfish is 9 seconds. This is evolution going the wrong way. And we are just being bombarded. They did that same study 15 years ago. The human attention span then wasn't very good. It was 12 seconds. But we have lost a quarter of our attention span in 15 years. And it's getting worse. And ADD, one of our specialties, has tripled in the last 25 years. And it's about our habits that are literally assaulting the health of our brain. And Alzheimer's disease, one of our other specialties, is expected to quadruple in the next 35 years, and there's no cure on the horizon. But if you're serious, we are absolutely convinced you can prevent it and even reverse it if it's early enough by using the Brain Warriors Way. So we say, you know, with all these epidemic problems, the answer is not to see them as separate disorders, but rather as different expressions of the same unhealthy lifestyle that have exactly the same
Right,
cure.
so we like to say there's a lot of ways to get sick, but there's one real way to get well. Does that mean that everyone does the exact same thing? No, you tailor it to your numbers. We have you get your important numbers checked. But it's still that same way that you get well. What's good for your brain is good for your heart, is good for your hormones, right? It's not like different diets for every part of your body.
Okay, so we're talking about the walls caving in from a lot of areas. The standard American diet.
Yep.
Let's unpack this a little bit and talk about what specifically is causing the problems with the brain shrinking here. Like how is, you know, the high carb diet affecting my brain? Is it inflammation?
Well, it's part of it. Inflammation, sugar is a disaster. As your blood sugar goes up, that's a disaster. As your weight goes up, that's a disaster. So just starting with sugar, which increases not only your blood sugar and causes diabetes and prediabetes, that makes your blood vessels brittle. So that's just a nightmare for every organ in your body, but especially your brain. As your weight goes up and you get fatter, it makes your brain shrink. So that's another problem.
And the reason is fat cells are not innocuous. It actually becomes its own organ and produces something called inflammatory cytokines.
So the inflammation you're talking about.
Inflammation damages.
It's all connected.
Plus, fat stores toxins. And so your toxic load in your body goes up, and the fat on your belly takes healthy testosterone in men and women and turns it into unhealthy cancer-promoting estrogen, which is just a disaster for you. So, you know, we've all seen, you know, there's just way too many pregnant men in our society.
Right.
And it's like, dude, deliver the baby. Because that belly fat in particular is more toxic. So yes, it's sugar. Fascinating study from UCLA. So at Amen Clinics, we did the big NFL study. So we scanned and treated 200 NFL players at a time when the NFL was lying they had a problem. And it was awful. Now, through this program we talk about in Brain Warriors Way, 80% of our players showed improvement. But at UCLA, they did a study where they gave rats a head injury, and then half the group, healthy diet. The other half of the group, same diet, plus fructose, which is fruit sugar, which is often added in packaged foods. The group of rats with the healthy diet could do the maze 3 weeks later after the head injury. The group with the fruit sugar couldn't do the maze. They were confused. So think of all the kids on soccer fields, on football fields, playing gymnastics that get head injuries. And you know, what's the big orange tub on the side of a football field? It's Gatorade. And what is Gatorade?
Fructose.
Which
makes you thirstier,
It's
by the
sugar
way.
water. It's sugar water. So give them the standard American diet. The trauma that we're subjecting our kids to, they're not going to be able to heal from it. And that ends up causing long-term problems in school, in relationships, at work, and puts them at risk for things like dementia at the end of their lives.
And we haven't even gotten to things like hormone disruptors yet. So pesticides and other toxins in your food, cans that are lined with something called BPA, or plastic bottles that leach, those types of things, they have hormone disruptors. So we're seeing lots of problems with young girls going into puberty earlier, or having problems with something called polycystic ovarian syndrome, where they have, their cycles are not right. Women going into menopause earlier and having problems with that. Men having low testosterone. So infertility, lots of things going on that we didn't have before we had the changes with our food supply. And so that's a complicated question.
It's a complicated question, but it's a complicated war.
But it's a war. In the 60s, and this just came out, the sugar industry knew sugar was associated with heart disease. But they hired scientists from places like Stanford and Harvard to write review articles saying, oh no, it's not sugar, it's the fat. And so fat was demonized, and the federal government got involved, and it's like, oh, well, low-fat everything in the early 80s, and you can see a direct correlation to taking fat out of food
and adding sugar,
replacing it with sugar, and obesity just
So I just want to say that one more time because it's really important. So the sugar industry basically paid off scientists to demonize fat and say sugar was fine, because that's a big deal.
That's a big deal. That is a big deal. And listen, if there was some sort of outside influence of this, if the Russians did this as part of the Cold War, it would be ingenious, because within 2 generations, it's destroyed the fabric of America.
And that's what's happened, right?
Well, and Putin actually just came out and said that. He said, we are not going to go with the West
down the road you've gone,
because they have adulterated food, and
it was a great
the
article.
Quality is awful.
And he said,
so, we think of them as the enemy, but in fact, we are the enemy of ourselves.
He actually went further and said that he would improve their economy by growing organic food and feeding their country healthier. So, just saying.
Just saying. Well, and that's just it.
We're not moving to Russia. We're going to change the
We're not moving
United
to Russia.
States.
We're fixing America, right?
I wonder why we have a broken food
But we have a broken everything, right? We have a broken economy. We have a broken healthcare system. We have a broken military because no one could even qualify for it. And so, and no one is, and everyone's sitting here blaming each other. I mean, we did a call yesterday about how racism is on the rise. Is it really the other races, or is it the everyday things that are collapsing our lives, where we just feel like we're panicking because nothing's working, right? And so if my brain is under stress, I can't think clearly. Right. I can't make good decisions. I can't say no to the pumpkin pie, although, this part of my brain would tell me to do so. So how quickly can one start to turn this around? I'm like, okay, I'm genuinely freaked out now.
Great question.
Right?
Yeah.
So 10 days.
You'll start to feel better.
To change your taste buds. And people feel so much better. Now, there's 2 kinds of people, and we talk about this in the book. There's
actually 3, but
there's the people like Nancy. So Nancy's one of the stories in the book. And a couple of years ago, she bought my book, Change Your Brain, Change Your Life, in a used bookstore in England for 50 cents. And it laid around for a year. And then when she read it, she said it was riveting. So I like that. But she said, oh, there's too many things to do. I'm just going to do one thing at a time. Now, she was obese. She was isolated. She was depressed. She had no friends. And she was getting ready to die. So she's 80 years old. And she said, so she started drinking water, because the brain is 80% water. So she starts drinking water and she feels better. And she goes, well, I'll do another thing. So she started walking. And she's like, well, I'm feeling better still. And then she changed her diet. And then she added supplements. And then she added new learning. By the time she came to see us, so for her 83rd birthday present to herself, she came and got scammed. That's when we met her. And she was learning 3 languages. She had dropped 73 pounds. So she did it slowly over a year and radically changed her life. And she came with a list of things she was doing. And I love that. Some people are like Nancy. Other people are like my dad. And he's the last story in the book, but he got really sick a couple of years ago, and he would never listen to me until he got really sick. And one day he said, Danny, I'm sick of being sick. What do you want me to do? And I said, everything, because I don't want to lose you. And he's so stubborn, he did everything. And
everything, yeah.
Everything immediately.
And did it all at once.
And within...
He's more rare, I would assume.
6 months, he'd lost 40 pounds. His energy soared. He started driving again. He's back to work full time. And we work out. You know, first it was like 3 pounds and then 6 pounds. And last Sunday, I counted up all the weights we lifted, 17,000 pounds.
It's a guy who was about to die.
Unbelievable.
So he was
and
on the
he's
couch.
87. He's 87 years old. So it's
he's back to work full time? Did I hear that right?
Back to work full time.
That's great. That's great.
So
are you the one thing at a time person? Awesome. Or are you
whatever works as long as you're doing.
But just
do it.
But just go in the right direction.
I thought you were going to talk about sheepdogs and wolves and sheep. That's why I said 3.
You can talk about that.
So we also talk about in the book that there are sheep, sheepdogs, and wolves, and we took that from Lieutenant David Grossman. So from his book, he writes about this. But it's really interesting, and we equate that to being a brain warrior. So if you're a wolf, like the food industry or some of the people that are benefiting and gaining from you becoming ill, that we consider that a wolf. So that would be the wolf.
So they target the weak.
They target the weak.
They're looking for the lonely. They are after the sick.
And they don't really care, knowing the consequences.
That's what wolves do.
So whereas the sheep, nothing inherently wrong with being a sheep, except they just follow other sheep. They just follow the flock, and they'll walk, they'll just go right off a cliff, and then other sheep will just follow them, not paying attention. These are people who don't want to be party poopers. They don't read labels. It's just too hard. Just going to go with the flow. They take the holidays off. It's just, there's nothing wrong with being a sheep, except you got to be careful because you might become a lamb chop. So we want to be careful about being a sheep. And then there are sheepdogs. And sheepdogs are there to protect sheep, and they have the gift of aggression. So a sheepdog scares sheep because they've got that gift of aggression. They look a lot like a wolf. So they've got those pointy teeth and the pointy nose, and they're able to fight. But the difference is that they're there to protect versus to target.
Well, and that's what we think of brain warriors. They're serious, purposeful, highly trained. And we did a 6-month class on the Brain Warriors Way. And over time, you could just see how people became serious. And one went to one of the big box stores, and she said, I walked in and I saw death, covered in death.
And more
in every corner there was death. And when you open your eyes, wherever you go, I mean, I was in the airport yesterday, 98% of the choices were bad, right?
Choices.
You travel a lot, and it's like you really have to hunt to find things. And here's the short course.
You have to have a warrior
food.
mindset.
We want you to find foods that you love, that love you back. Because so many people say, oh, well, I love donuts. Well, they don't love you back. That's like you're in an abusive relationship, because those foods will abuse you. And it's changing your mindset to do things not because you should, but because you love yourself.
So many people are so far removed from loving themselves. They don't feel well enough. I mean, they're struggling to get through their day. It's 3 cups of coffee to get out of the house, fighting through to get to lunch, and that's all a symptom of this very thing. And so it's like they can't see through the cloud to realize that there's a way out. And so the steps that you can start taking to come out of that funk and to just gain, because what I'm hearing about the Nancy story is that she kind of banked up a little bit of vitality. Right. And she's like took that profit and then reinvested it into the next thing. And eventually she was a health millionaire, right? But those first few steps are like, they seem like the longest mile. right? And so what have you guys seen in your clinical experience moves the needle the fastest? And maybe it's different for the brain types, right?
It probably is different for the brain types, but sometimes it's the small things. Sometimes it is the small things like what Nancy did, drinking water because people are dehydrated, or taking some magnesium because people are anxious. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's the small things, and all of a sudden they go, huh, I'm actually feeling better.
So
or going for a walk,
it ain't that bad.
And all of a sudden they're like, huh, I feel better. And then
we worked with a group at Stanford on a program called Tiny Habits, and it's about how people change. And we're able to boil down the tiny habit from Brain Warriors Way. If you just do this one thing.
That's leverage.
And that, it's a game we've played with Chloe, our 13-year-old, since she was 2. Is this good for my brain or bad for it? So you just have to know the list. And it's not hard, obviously playing, if I said football, she'd go thumbs down, brain is soft, skull is hard. Brain
easy one, right?
Yeah, right. If I said avocado, she'd go 2 thumbs up, God's butter. If I say blueberry, she'll put her hands on her hips and go, well, are they organic? Because non-organic blueberries hold more pesticides than almost any fruit. And she says, if they're organic, she says, thumbs up, God's candy. So it's knowing the list, loving yourself enough. And so we talk about a concept called brain envy, which is, I'm a psychiatrist. Freud was wrong. Penis envy is not the cause of neurosis. It's they don't love their brain because it's the 3 pounds of fat between your ears that runs everything. Know how to take care of it, you do so much better.
And the other thing, the reason we work on mastery, because mindset and essence are so important. So we spend a lot of time on getting your mindset right, because like you said, people don't love themselves. So you got to spend time on that. If you don't know your why, you won't do your what. So we have to really spend a lot of time on that, talking about things like meditation and prayer and getting those daily habits right. But also, a lot of people have been beat up. Like you said, they're just at this place where they feel like victims of whatever it is they're going through. And if we can get them to grasp that and understand that they can rewrite that story, they get to rewrite that if they know how to, and turn that pain into purpose and help other people and propel themselves forward. It's a beautiful thing, but we have to work on those things.
And you wrote a 2-week starter guide to help people just get started.
Just do these things.
The thing that shocks us is, because this isn't a weight loss program, although you can lose massive amounts of weight on it, is just the first 2 weeks people end up losing 10 pounds or 15 pounds.
But their memory, their mood, their focus, all that stuff, the brain fog starts to lift.
And that's what motivates us. I mean, that's sort of
I see people losing spiritual weight way before they lose physical weight.
That's why we say
stuff that gets in the way.
And that's
first,
why we say the weight loss.
Heavy.
The weight loss is the stunning side effect of vibrant health. We don't focus on that. It happens because of what you just said.
What I like about what you guys are doing is there's a lot of self-help crap out there that talks about, getting all the stuff out of your way, and then, people just fail because there's no physiological basis to saying eat avocados and do these right things for your brain. Because when you do start treating your brain differently, it's a feedback loop that then starts making you feel the progress and stay with it, versus just clicking my heels and tapping my whatever and not quite crossing over into.
And it is different for every person, because some people are more anxious, some people, their brains might be sleepier and they lack more motivation. So you have to know that and work from that place, and that does really help.
Well, that's part of the A, which is assessment. Which is, are you spontaneous, persistent, sensitive, cautious? So what is your type? There's specific prescriptions for each type. So the person with low frontal lobes, well, we really need to pop them up.
So they make better decisions.
And dopamine helps to do that.
But if you're over-focused.
But if you do that to the persistent person who's over-focused, they can't let
Someone
go,
like
and
me.
you give them dopamine, you're going to make them focus more on the things that upset them.
Right.
So
They
you got to
become obsessive.
Right.
They
They
become
get too
obsessive.
intense.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Or
So
the
that's why-
sensitive, sad person, they may be overeating. You know, if you eat carbs, it raises serotonin.
So
it's why people are addicted to the 2 to 3 donuts in the morning, because initially they feel better. Now, long run, that makes them sick. But there's a reason that bread, pasta, potatoes, rice, and sugar are so popular, because they almost work like antidepressants. The problem is they're pro-inflammatory and they cause illness. So there are other ways.
Right.
And they become calories. So there are other ways. A new study just out yesterday, blowing my mind. Girls and women who are on birth control pills have a 40% increased risk of depression. And we know, we talk about this in the book, 23% of women, so almost a quarter of women between the ages of 20 and 60 are on antidepressant medication. That's a scandal. It's part of the war. And another new study just out this week, that the elderly on SSRIs, so that's the most common antidepressants out, it causes sleep problems and is associated with dementia. And I'm like, depression, head to head, Prozac versus fish oil, equally effective.
And saffron.
And no side effects on the fish oil.
And no side effects. Prozac against exercise.
But insurance pays for my Prozac, doc.
That's true.
That's the problem.
But it's part of the war.
That's part of the war.
Part of the war. Yeah. And so we want you to be a warrior.
So one of the things you mentioned was failure. So one of the things we need to get people, now you practice martial arts, I practice martial arts, and one thing that was so odd for me as a female, who's a recovering perfectionist, was this idea that falling is normal. So, you know what I mean? Like, falling is part of martial arts, and you have to learn how to do it a lot, and you have to learn how to do it safely and get up, right? So it's just part of what you do. So we want people to really understand there's no failing, there's falling, as long as you get up. The only time you fail is if you stay down, right? Yep.
And
so in a fight, the only time you fail is if you stay down.
That's it.
You got to get up. Even if you fall 100 times, just get up 101.
Roll out.
And so, what we say is, whenever you make a mistake,
know how to do it safely.
Is be curious, not furious. So important. I work with my patients on that all the time. It's just, let's be more mindful of our behavior and say, you know, I didn't eat the way I really wanted to today. Well, what happened? Maybe I didn't sleep. Maybe I was believing every stupid thought I have. There's a whole section in the book on killing the ants, the automatic negative thoughts that, you know, invade your mind and steal your happiness. Yeah. Maybe you went too long without eating, dropped blood sugar, which drops blood flow to your frontal lobes. Now you're going to make a bad decision. So if you can understand your vulnerable times, just like a warrior, you can protect against it.
And having a strategy against the ANTs, the automatic negative thoughts, is not an option, because we live in a world that's just so filled with memes and just belief systems that aren't even your own. They come from TV, they come from news, everything's depressing.
Untrained,
but you can get rid of them.
Well,
that's the exciting thing. And here's the exercise for people, is whenever you feel sad or mad or nervous or out of control, write down what you're thinking. And then ask yourself if it's true. You know, we were never taught.
Might not even be your thought.
We're never taught to question the noise and the nonsense going through our heads. And just doing that in the class we just taught was so powerful. People talked about killing the ants all the time. I don't have to believe everything I think. It's just such a freeing thought.
Now, we always have people who are Buddhist, or, you know, they're like, I don't want to kill ants. Okay, fine, get an anteater. I want to kill them. I want to stomp on them. So,
however you do it, right?
So, right. It's okay if you want to do it, the recycling thing. It's okay.
There's also this thing that I get, and maybe Sean, you could maybe attest to this, right? Because you know, I saw him, and he's a young guy, and I was like, yo, you got a dairy thing. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you got a dairy thing. And so I pulled him off dairy. How long? 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks, pulled him off dairy, and he's like a new man, right?
Right.
And
on what, 2 months now or something?
2 months, yeah. And he's like, you know, it's got a new lease on life kind of thing.
So what was the thing? What was the dairy thing?
I would eat, and then I would, like, maybe 5 minutes after, be asleep. Non-responsive. He would snap in my face, and I would just be like, no, dark circles under my eyes, all that kind of stuff. It was just, common. I guess it was class A you know.
Yeah, but then like,
So a lot
so
of
for me,
people
I will
think-
get that, but like I will have dairy and then just be like, wow, the world sucks. And I'll have all my ants start booting up. If I have a food that's inflammatory, I'll find that my psychological flavor is now skewed towards the negative stuff.
They feed your ants. Like
feed-
sugar feeds your ants, wheat feeds your ants,
Right, see?
dairy feeds your ants, corn feeds your ants, because corn, 85% of the corn in this country is raised with pesticides. And we talk about your gut has 100 trillion bugs. What do pesticides kill? They kill your bugs, and the bugs in your gut actually make neurotransmitters, they make vitamins, they help you digest your food, and so on.
And gluten and dairy are special because they have exorphins. So they actually have, you know, a compound that crosses the blood-brain barrier. So what you're saying is actually very true. So for us, we have psychiatric clinics. A lot of people, if we take them off of gluten and dairy, and you know, not everyone reacts the same. Does everyone need to go off of it? Probably not. But what we do is we just have everyone try it. And so it's
Everyone
like just
who has headaches,
Right.
everyone who has
Dark
dark circles,
circles, or
everyone
negative
that
thoughts,
has
or-
upset stomach should try it for a month.
So we do
They
that.
should do the Brain Warrior diet for a month. And it's basically you eliminate things that could potentially hurt you and you eat things that help you, because food is medicine or it's poison.
But what ends up happening is when we do that elimination diet, we're like, look, just try it. They end up feeling so much better. They realize it, but they have to do it long enough. Once they realize it, then they're like, oh, okay, I don't want to go back now.
Can't go back.
Right.
Or when they go back, it's like getting
It's
punched
miserable.
in the face. Yeah,
Right.
it's
like
so bad.
even
And
worse
we
than
just
before.
want them to pay
Yeah.
attention to them.
Yeah.
Pay attention to how you feel. And people go, oh, but it's expensive. And I'm like, no, being sick
Yeah,
is
I've been
expensive.
sick. No, I've
Yeah.
been really sick.
And with
That's
Sean
really
getting rid
expensive.
of the dairy, well, that's a cost saving.
Being
Totally.
tired,
Totally.
missing work, not being
Productivity,
productive.
Yeah.
That's
Forget
it.
about it.
Right, missing school, that's expensive.
Well, and you start counting heartbeats and how many you have left. How many more are you going to invest down the road of that kind of oblivion, right? Where it's just you don't feel well, you just don't have the same amount of energy, you don't have the clarity, you're not good with the people in your life. I mean, are you living or not?
Right.
Right. And a warrior lives.
Right.
And that's why, like, I love the warrior language. Right. I come from kung fu, so it's just
Right.
you know, and it is like, so how. This is a loaded question, of course, because it's me. But when you say it's a war, I mean, how aggressive is it? Like, is this premeditated? Is this market driven? Or is there something just much more insidious? Because it's so all-encompassing.
pervasive, yes.
It's pervasive. It's the media. It's the food. It's all of it. And it's like when you wake up to
Well,
it,
food
it's
companies hire neuroscientists.
Come on, they've got food scientists.
hire
They know the right
neuroscientists.
meltiness, crunchiness, the aroma. I mean, come on, it's a science. They know, you know, Cinnabon actually has their ovens in the front of the stores, and every 30 minutes, if you have one of their stores, you have to be baking those, you know, because they
They're
know.
baking sugar.
Right.
Right.
So what it is
And,
they
and
know.
who wanted to know? Chloe wanted to know who Catherine Webb was. So she's the cheerleader from Alabama who Brent Musburger went
She's
crazy.
gorgeous.
And later she was one of the Carl's Jr. girls. And so, you know,
Yeah, you know she's not eating those
beautiful.
burgers.
Eating a
She's
burger.
eating these
Good
burgers.
luck.
And then we heard about spit buckets. That on the set
They
of
keep
doing
spit
that,
buckets.
she would actually be spitting it out.
She doesn't eat
But they
them.
use sex as a way to hook your pleasure centers, thinking, well, if I eat that, I will either look like her or somehow she will want
Be
me.
attracted to me.
and
Which
then-
is crazy.
And that's just the food. Now think about the elections, okay? It's like reality TV. So, I mean, between the food
Literally.
and, right? The food and television and we can go on and on. You tell me, is it a war or not?
It's a
And is
war
it
for the
intentional?
minds of men and women, absolutely. And you know, what's interesting is the Buddhists actually called most people hungry ghosts.
Interesting.
And they just weren't present. They weren't
that's
conscious of what they were doing, and they were lost. And so, as a brain warrior, you bring yourself
Yes.
back. You're present. You're engaged. I mean, this is the most important time in human history I could imagine right now. I mean, all the systems are coming into question, right? You look at healthcare; it's like it's a suck all the way to the top,
Yep.
and it's like a concentration
it's
of wealth.
draining our society.
And all the doctors are miserable. The patients aren't getting better. It's like healthcare, traditional healthcare doesn't work. Finance, everyone's talking about Washington. Like all these systems that are not working
Big
for
food,
us.
big pharma, big government.
You can't afford to sleepwalk anymore. Yeah.
You cannot afford to sleepwalk
That's
if you
that's
love
good.
your children. and your grandchildren, because my grandbabies are not going to be able to afford the tsunami of illness that's coming our way. And this is going to take us from being a great country to not a great country if we are drowning in debt because we're sick.
So what did the Pentagon have to say about this? Like, are they just freaked out? Like, what the hell do we do? How do we stop this?
They're very excited about prevention and resilience, building resilience, and we're going to do a pilot program with the VA. So we're
especially
very
if we can show that it
excited
saves them
about
money.
Because people, you know, when you think about the war, well, we're just coming off 2 wars, and these wars have a 70-year tail on them. So that both traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress disorder are risk factors for Alzheimer's disease. So what happens in your 20s, if you don't take care of it, if you don't develop the brain warrior mindset, they're going to bite you, yes, throughout your life, and probably take 10 years off your life. But if you're armed and prepared, if you get the education and then become serious. So we have a high school course called Brain Thrive by 25. It's in 42 states and 7 countries. And we teach kids these concepts and they love it. You know, oh, it's like they're teenagers, they won't listen. No, because you're teaching them about them. And we had an independent group study it. Decrease drug, alcohol, and tobacco use, decrease depression, and improve self-esteem. So that's the payoff. If you just do the program, your energy, memory, mood, and your money's better, because ultimately it's about decision making.
How many people went through that program?
Brain Thrive by 25.
The kids.
We have thousands of them.
Thousands. And you guys had, like how many, like, so you did the Daniel plan with Mark Hyman and Saddleback Church, Rick Warren. How many people and how many pounds were lost?
So the first week, 15,000 people signed up. The first year, they lost 250,000 pounds.
But now it's international.
And now we have thousands of churches around the world. And as I did that, I realized we had to take that a step further. And that is, we need to be even more serious. We need to just, you know, I have a favorite New Testament verse, John 8:32, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. It's a war. And you need to be armed and prepared.
Yeah, it's interesting in context of what's happened in this recent election and all the kind of flack that's now going towards Facebook. There's so many information sources that aren't actually credible sources that people are referencing and sharing stories that are not actually true on all sides, right? I'm not, you know, I don't buy into the polarity at all.
Right.
And so there are information wars as well happening as we speak. So it's like it's hard enough to think clearly. Now you have to trust where your information comes from as well. And if you don't have a brain that's functioning correctly, you don't stand a chance.
And you know, one of the things that I really believe in, and I teach my daughter, we teach Chloe, is this idea of responsibility. Excuse me. Responsibility doesn't mean you have to take blame, but it gives you the ability to respond. So if you think of responsibility as the ability to respond as opposed to, oh, it's my fault, you know, if you take responsibility for your life, for that information you're taking in, for the food you're taking in, it's your responsibility, right? So as a warrior, you're responsible, right? As a martial artist, that's your responsibility.
So you think she's a warrior?
Chloe, our 13-year-old's amazing. So she's just way beyond her years.
But
she's responsible.
But a year and a half ago, she would look at
us.
It was about a year and a half ago, she would look at us and say, I'm never going to be as serious.
I'm never going to be like you. She looked at me. She goes, I'm never going to be like you. I'm never going to be that intense. And now I laugh at her and I'm like, no, honey, you're far worse.
You're intense.
But what happened is she went through puberty and she put on a few pounds and her face started breaking out and she freaked out. And she says, well, what do I do?
And she got a little depressed and like
and
that
so what I
foggy
did,
feeling,
all of
you know,
it.
What I did
puberty.
is I took her to Whole Foods and in Fashion Island, and I said, so we're going to do this for 90 minutes. I'm going to teach you how to read food labels. And your job is to find 10 things that you like that like you back. And it was amazing, the transformation.
Now she reads everything.
Now she reads everything because she wants to know, does it serve her or does it hurt her? And I love that. And, you know, she's 13. You know, 13-year-olds won't listen to you. It's like, yeah, you just have to educate them
but we never
and be
forced
bonded
her.
with them.
But we never forced her. It was an education process. I put, you know, try being us and having your 9-year-old going, nah, 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 with a cupcake in your face when she's at a party, right? So, but it's not about, right? But it's not about other people. It's about
your kid.
It's about her.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. It's like, so I have a 2-year-old, and people say, don't talk to your kid like he's like an idiot. Speak to him normally, right? And so people say, people just say, oh, she's a teenager. It's like a throwaway statement. It's like, no, it's a 13-year-old human with brain that is still developing and growing at a faster pace than mine is, right? And so she's actually got a lot more going on.
Right.
You know, my 1-year-old is every day
I give her the respect that she deserves.
Yeah, exactly.
And
she's
an amazing human.
into it.
But that's a really important point. The brain is not finished developing until you're 25 for females and about 28 for males. But yet we allow children to hit soccer balls with their head, to play tackle football, to put developing brains at risk. And we don't sort of get upset if they start smoking pot, even though we know marijuana in youngsters actually increases the risk of psychotic episodes by 350%.
Ouch.
And we have a new study coming out next week on marijuana and 1,000 pot smokers. Every area of their brain is decreased. But if you teach them to love their brain, it's your brain that gets you a date, it's your brain that gets you into college, it's your brain that gets you a car and gets you a job and gets you independence and freedom, you teach them to love it, then they treat it
well,
better.
and we won't lie. We've actually probably instilled a little anxiety in her by showing her all the scans.
Well, it's hard.
We've shown her the scans.
Well, some
and people
anxiety is essential. You know, when I became a psychiatrist, I thought my job was to like lower people's anxiety. That's completely not my job. For a lot of my patients, I need to raise it because this study from Stanford, the longest longevity study ever done, 90 years, showed that the people who died the earliest were the don't worry, be happy people, the people who had low levels of anxiety. I have some anxiety about my health because I've seen lots of older brains and they're not healthy. So I want to do the right thing. So in our society, we don't have enough anxiety, which is why you see 2/3 of us overweight.
It's interesting. Just eat what you've been eating, eat what everyone else eats. Just go to the doctor if you're sick. Everything's going to be fine. Watch your show, right? That's America.
Yep.
Yeah. You should be afraid. You should be very, very afraid if that's your life.
Because you're a sheep. If that's you, you're a sheep.
Yeah.
You're gonna follow people right off a cliff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or become a lamb chop.
We're training sheepdogs.
And and you guys are training sheepdogs, right? I have to believe that my show is a sheepdogging kind of show, right? And this is it. It's just like, come on, guys, this is crazy because the wolves are out.
I was with you at an event one time, and someone called us the Health Mafia. I don't know if you heard that. It was hilarious. I'm like, the Health Mafia. I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but it was very interesting.
I think it's actually Celeste, my book agent.
Oh yeah, it was Celeste. Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, we're out here fighting this fight, and I've recently kind of turned the corner against how the internet is starting to pollute health advice, which is give me 3 shortcuts to better abs, give me 5 ways to like fix my brain. And it's like, well, there's actually 19. Do you want me to?
Right. It's
cut
a lie.
It short.
Although through the years, I figured out it's 3 things.
It's only 3 things.
It's brain envy. You got to care about it. Avoid anything that hurts it. Do things every day that help it.
So
now you have to know the list, but ultimately it's that one question.
Right.
Is this good for my brain or is it
and
bad
guess what?
for it?
A 2-year-old can be taught to start thinking that way.
So is that what you guys teach in here? What's good for my brain? What's bad for my brain?
And we teach mastery. So mindset, assessment, sustenance, training, essence, responsibility, and years long. It's mastery over your brain and body.
Got it. And if I start the process, within 10 days I start feeling better.
You start feeling better, right away. But we will not lie and say that it's a 10-day program. I won't work with people who just want to lose 10 pounds. That's just not what I do. Never have. Bless you, go to Jenny Craig.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's just not what I do. Because it's not going to help you long term. In fact, it will hurt you if you keep yo-yo dieting. It's just going to hurt you. So.
And when you really understand it, under the responsibility section, we talk about epigenetics, that your habits turn on or off certain genes that make illness more or less likely in you but also in your babies and your grandbabies. So when Chloe was born, she was actually born with all the eggs she'll ever have. So she's born with part of our grandchildren there as well. So when you really think about it, this is serious stuff.
And just like I won't lie to her, I don't lie to people I coach. So it's like if you want, if you're serious, and it's not for everyone, if you're serious about getting well and passing it on, this is a program
you should talk
like.
A little bit about the cookbook, because I know you're so proud of it. There's 130 recipes in it. They're delicious, and the idea behind
it's gorgeous. I know how challenging it is to put together a cookbook.
Cookbooks are
the photography,
easy,
all of it.
But it's
gorgeous.
Really, yeah. It's got a holiday guide in there. It has a section on how do you get your kids involved? What foods do you order in restaurants? How do you put together your lunch box? You know, I mean, literally, I broke it down that small. How do you clean out your kitchen? You know, so it's really the go-to lifestyle guide.
Amazing. You guys, I mean, listen, you guys could have stopped working a long time ago, but then you'd be bored. And
I'm dangerous without a project.
And you're dangerous without a project. You know, it's like, you know, you could have stopped at the Daniel Plan. You could have stopped at a lot of these things.
I'm miserable when I'm not helping.
Right, because that's what a sheepdog does.
Right.
And so this is the next, and I'm sure this isn't the last, but this is the next in a long series of sheepdog contributions to the world here. Book is available when?
So November 22nd.
Okay.
It is available nationwide, and we're so excited. It's going to be part of a PBS special we have coming out together called Brain Fit, 50 Ways to Grow Your Brain, all about neuroplasticity. And
you've already done the PBS, like you've been on the road, or are you going to get
We're
back
going on the road, getting ready to leave.
Yeah, PBS, I hear it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot
of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing that can get a message to America
millions
like that.
And millions.
Right. I mean, you can be on the Today Show for 4 minutes, or our PBS specials
which are educational,
on for 90 minutes to 2 hours. And we just get people immersed in the stories.
And it takes that long to have a real conversation and really educate. I mean, 4 minutes, like I said, I was on Oz for my last book launch. And it was just like in and out, and you're like, I flew to New York for 16 seconds of blah, right? And so you can't say anything meaningful in that amount of time, but in 90 you can.
Right, and that's why we say it's a years-long approach, because it takes a while to change the firing in your brain. So it takes a while to change what you love.
6 months.
The class was 6 months because we needed people immersed, just immersed, so they could really get it.
But the books are really the guide to get started. There's everything they need.
Wonderful, wonderful. You guys are just, I have to say, it's very inspiring. You're hardworking and you keep putting out really, really good stuff. So thank you. Thank you both.
Thanks for your time.
Here. Yeah, thank you. And let me know what you think. Is there any questions? We might have a minute or two here at the end.
So we had a few, but I mean, I'm guessing that they'll probably get them all answered in the cookbook. But what was, because they were asking for diet tips and that kind of stuff for memory for women over 55.
Oh gosh, there is a whole section on, there's hormones, and I actually did, there's a section in the holiday guide there. We have, I have a blog right now that they can actually check out that has a holiday section in it on how to have a healthy holiday. And if it's specifically about hormones, we do cover that in the book. I don't know if we can answer that really quickly, but basically kill the sugar. If I had to say anything, kill the sugar. So that would be the big thing for hormones. What would you say in this amount of time?
Well, there's actually a great story about Marianne, who at 59 had brain fog, chronic pain, was depressed, and almost quit the job she loved at Franklin Covey. And within 2 months, the brain fog had lifted by eating the way we talk about, which is basically you eliminate things that are going to hurt you, and then it's really simple. High quality calories, clean protein and fat at every meal, because they help balance your blood sugar. And carbs are not the enemy. They're essential, but it's the high glycemic, low fiber carbs you need to lose. So think of colorful fruits and vegetables, 3 times the amount of vegetables than fruit. And then use spices, and there's special spices for memory, like rosemary, thyme, sage. Sage has A-level scientific evidence for memory in particular. Garlic helps to boost blood flow. So you always say think of the spice aisle like the
medicine
pharmacy.
cabinet, right. So, you know, it's almost more important to keep them in your medicine cabinet than your kitchen cabinet. But specifically for hormones, it's a little like what we were talking about before, the hormone disruptors. There's certain things you can avoid, sugar being one of them, plastics, certain foods in cans, getting away from processed foods. So we do cover a lot of that. That's why I'm saying it's, you know, to cover it in a sentence or two is a little more complicated.
Well, and
but the
it's
program
always
really
complicated.
covers that a lot. We talk a lot about hormones.
And people go, oh, well, I'm old. I don't want to be serious anymore. And I'm like, you have
then
less
you don't
room
want to be
for
much
error.
older? I'm confused.
Right. It's you have less room for error. So doing the right thing will actually expand your mental age.
There's another great quote that I love, and it's, you know, if you really want to do something, you will find a way. And if you don't, you will find an excuse.
That's it.
That's it. Jim Rohn.
And there's plenty of excuses out there.
Yep.
There's too many excuses. Yeah.
But warriors don't have excuses.
Warriors don't,
They
warriors
bust
don't
it all.
afford the luxury of an
Right.
excuse to anyone, let alone themselves. Forget
Right.
about it. Forget about it. Any other questions?
Great. We had actually one about grains. So what kind of grains should you limit, and what are the best grains that you can eat?
So we typically have people go off of almost all grains initially. And then if they're going to eat grains, we say eat them like a condiment. If you add them back in within, you know, a few weeks or something, eat them like a condiment and gluten-free grains. So gluten-free grains, eat them like a condiment and instead of a staple. So in our society, people eat them like a staple. Instead, if they're going to eat, say, oatmeal, it would be very small amount and not every day. Or if it's, you know, if they're going to eat a little bit of rice, it would be a very small amount, maybe a half cup and just once in a while. So like a condiment is what we would say. But some people react right away. And if you are one of those people who is sensitive to them, stay away from them. So not everyone reacts the same.
Yeah, and so starchy vegetables versus fibery vegetables.
Well, we always choose the fibery, you know, the green fiber vegetables over that. A little bit of starch now and then, especially if you're an athlete. It always depends on the individual. If you're an athlete who's, you know, using a lot of energy, a little bit of starch from, say, a sweet potato or something like that will actually help fuel you.
Well,
but you have to know, you can't lie to yourself. If you're not a person who is a high energy person, cut back on the starch.
If you're the spontaneous type, so more like you have ADD, you do really well on a high protein, very low carbohydrate diet. But if you are the persistent type, you worry, you hold grudges, things don't go your way, you get upset, you go on something like the Atkins diet, it makes you mean.
Right, you
So
overfocus.
those are people where hummus and sweet potatoes really are a very important part of their diet.
Just not
Otherwise,
too
they'll
much.
get upset.
They soften the edge.
It's the right amounts
Interesting.
and the right types of starch.
Is that assessment in the book of what
Yes.
kind of brain you have?
It
What kind
is.
of person?
Yeah.
Great. I'm curious now. I'm like wondering what the heck I am. Awesome. How we doing?
I think we're good.
Okay, great.
time.
All right, I'll go here. Thank you so much for being here. Let me know what you think and give us comments and questions. We'll tag the Amen's team as well if more things come up. Book is available next week, so get the book. Let's talk about it. I'm going to read through it and work on being my own brain warrior here. And sheepdogs, love it. Love it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.